This morning, we have the pleasure of being joined by Brian Ropitini, the pastor of New Plymouth Community Church. Well, good morning, Brian. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Morena. How you doing?
Hey, we're very well. Thanks for making the time. So we're looking at Jesus' ministry now, and we've talked about, previously we've talked about types and shadows and what they can teach us about who Jesus is. But when we look at, say, how then we are to live, how do we respond to his teaching? Is there a story that we can draw some inspiration from this morning?
Yeah, I mean, we just think about the Sermon on the Mount. When Jesus had all those people captivated, and his message at the time was quite revolutionary and quite different to what people had heard. So during that time, he highlighted the qualities that bring about true happiness. Those qualities of humility, mercy, purity, being a peacemaker, and hunger for righteousness. And I think if you can close your eyes and listen to somebody read those verses from the Sermon on the Mount and imagine being part of that crowd, listening to somebody just talk about relationship with God in a way that people have never heard before.
Yeah.
And if we go back to what happened just before Jesus shared that those teachings, I just want to read here from Matthew chapter 4. It says this from verse 23. It says, Jesus went through Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them. Large crowds from Galilee, the Decapolis, and Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him. So, at this time, Jesus has this amazing following, and it's because he's doing all these miracles and changing people's lives. And now they follow him to the mountain, and now they get to listen to Jesus share his wisdom. And if you could close your eyes and just imagine being part of that crowd and listening to those words of wisdom from Jesus. He talked about inner righteousness. He talked about authentic worship. He talked about, the kingdom priorities, around prioritizing heavenly treasures over earthly ones, trusting God for our needs. He talked about the golden rule of love. And he just talked about, encouraged living out his teachings as the foundations for life that withstands, all the challenges that we can face within life.
Brian, it's pretty radical when you think about it, because at the time, right, like they didn't operate in that way. Like there was very much an eye for an eye mentality, and there was a seeking of retribution and justice, and that we would act it out ourselves. And I think about this today, like even in 2024, as a believer, it's very easy, like in this world, to feel a sense of, oh, that person's wronged me, I'm going to hold on to that. And when you don't have this message of forgiveness and understanding that you're actually blessed when you encounter adversity, because that's what the Bible says, when you're persecuted, when you're insulted, and you're called to forgive and to love others, which is so countercultural, right? You can see that the only way to move forward in life is to operate through Jesus's principles. Like that's the only way you can live a free life. But you can see that it's very easy to stay trapped in the worldly mentality. And so it would have been so radical at its time for Jesus to bring such a countercultural message.
Oh, 100%. And look, at the end of chapter 7, we read these verses where it talks about the impact. It says, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowd were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. And so, the comparison of Jesus to every other person that has had authority is just blowing them away. And look, if I could just finish with this last thing. So I guess people are thinking, who is this Jesus? He performs miracles and he teaches like nobody has ever taught before. And then as he's coming down from the mountain, the first thing that he does is he performs one of the messianic miracles. He heals a leper. One of those miracles that they believed only the Messiah would be able to do. And so if they had any doubt as to who Jesus was, the people that saw that would have been convinced. And it's interesting what Jesus said to the person that he healed. He said immediately he was cured of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, See that you don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them. So he's instructing him to go and follow the laws of Moses when it comes to what he should be doing to be, allowed to integrate back into the community. And that should have been a sign for the priests as to who Jesus was, but they still chose to reject him as their Messiah.
Well, it's a reminder, I think, for all of us that we can experience the goodness, the graciousness of God in our own life and still miss it if we're not careful too. So thank you again, Brian, for joining us today and reminding us of that truth today.
Hey, thanks very much. I really appreciate being on the show and sharing with you all.
Well, Merry Christmas, and thanks again, Pastor Brian Ropitini from New Plymouth Community Church. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
Amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.